that a DB like a DB like you were if you're talking to Ray, because right now the only coverage he's playing is not inside leverage or outside leverage. He's playing get back, like on the sideline, like get back.
Hey,
what up, guys?
What's happening?
Another episode. That's what's happening. Welcome to the ATHLYT Podcast, everyone who's watching. It's your host, Coach Corey Besh, here with CEO, founder Ray Austin, and main pirate extraordinaire Hannah Struck here today for another episode of the ATHLYT Podcast. How you guys doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited about today's podcast. We have a really cool guest. Just a lot of good stuff to talk about today.
It's been a crazy week. So, I needed this locker room time. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just need that locker room time. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Anna?
I do.
Yeah, you gotta have that time to just to break bread and just relax. So yeah, I'm excited for this today.
Yeah, definitely. I know we talk about this all the time, but ATHLYT is the platform for every athlete. It's the NIL platform, but it's more than just NIL. We talk about the culture of sports. We talk about the opportunities available in the NIL market. We talk about the information and education that's around the NIL space. And then we talk about the network that's going to help get you to the next phase of your career, whether that's competitive or not. We know that the network supports you. So here at ATHLYT, we are for those core fundamentals, and we're excited to be able to bring those to you in the form of a podcast, in the form of a NIL marketplace. But, you know, we are more than just that NIL space. So anything else you guys want to talk about ATHLYT before we hop into this podcast and meet our guest today?
I just love just coming in here talking sports. You know what I mean? And just hearing it from the younger, generation, because, I'm an old head. I've been in the game for a minute. So I just love to hear, how things have changed, how things haven't, how things are the same, So I'm just excited to be here, man. What about you, Hannah?
I just kind of like to listen and get jealous to everyone take advantage of the situation that I couldn't take advantage of when I played.
I know that's right, boy.
Heck yeah. Speaking of, things that are always changing in NIL, Ray, you said there's some stuff going on in the culture of NIL you wanted to talk about?
I always say, I'm not always going to talk about what's happening in NIL culture, but I'm always going to talk about the culture of sports. And We're going to talk about FAMU. Chad Ochocinco. You guys remember that name? Does that name sound familiar?
Heck yeah. How could you forget?
Ochocinco. It's actually two names. Chad Ochocinco Johnson is now the official ambassador for FAMU. He has literally been an ambassador there for that school for so long, just being a part of that organization. But now he is putting his name, image, and likeness, partnering up with FAMU, and they are super excited to have him. And I actually got a chance to meet Chad. He came to one of our fan control football games, man, and just a great guy. And if people don't know this is the reason I brought Chad into this conversation, because we talk about NIL and name, image, and likeness. If you think about it, Chad was in the NFL, and he had not one, but two jerseys that he was selling at the same time. Chad Johnson and the Ochocinco jersey. Message.
Yeah, man. Chad Johnson did it different. I mean, he was I grew up playing receiver. His footwork, there were videos on YouTube back in the day of his footwork drills, man, and people were envious. And it wasn't just about, what he could do on the field, but it was his personality and how he transcended, sports off the field as well. Anytime you change your name to a different language and numbers, right, it means you're doing something right, because people still know who you are. And,
they call him that now. They still call him that now.
It's crazy. It's not even the language he speaks either. He doesn't even speak Spanish, but Ochocinco means 8'5".
So if you've not seen some of his stuff on IG, man, the things that he talks about, him living in the actual stadium that he lived at the Bengals stadium. And his coach is now the coach at Grambling State, Coach Hugh Jackson. And Hugh Jackson and him are having this conversation. He said, yes, he used to call me in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. and go, "Hey, coach, I'm open," and hang the phone up. That's
Always
baller.
open, right?
That's baller right there.
Always open. Well, hey, actually, our guest today has something in common with Chad Johnson, Chad Ocho Cinco Johnson. Not only does he play the same position, not only is he a big body wide receiver, but this man is taking name, image, and likeness into his own hands. They call him the King of D3 NIL, and that's none other than
Wow.
Jack Betts. All right, welcome Jack Betts to the ATHLYT Plus podcast. What up, Jack?
How y'all doing?
Good, man. Good. We've had some royalty. Ray likes to think of himself as royalty on this podcast, but we've never had the King of D3 NIL. So we're excited to have you here today, man. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Just got out of class. Only got one class on Monday and Wednesday, so I'm enjoying myself. Sun's coming out here in Western Massachusetts, and being on this podcast, I'm really grateful to be here.
Yeah.
Dude,
Before Ray interrupts here, I'm going to steal the show for a second. I'm going to cut him off.
I got so many questions. I'm
going to share a little story. When I first got hired to ATHLYT, one of my first days on the job, I took a phone call, and I didn't know who the athlete was going to be on the other side of the call, but it was our boy Jack. And man, I just got to tell you, the way this young man spoke about his opportunities, about the opportunity for NIL, it really encouraged me to work with this company, to work with these athletes, because it showed me, what type of difference we can make for a guy like Jack to really take advantage of everything coming his way in NIL, to take those new rules and regulations and jump forward, right, and blaze the path for NIL at the D3 level was really an amazing thing for me to hear when I first came on to the company at ATHLYT. And so it's really cool to come kind of full circle and see him here on the podcast today and see where we've come in such a short amount of time. So now I'll hand it over to Ray. Ray can ask all these questions, but man, I'm appreciative of having you here today, Jack.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, I just wanted to ask the King, how do you get on the throne? How do you get that name, the King of D3 NIL? How do you tell me that story?
Well, the journey to it was certainly circuitous. I'll tell you that. Really, my my journey in NIL began last January, where I decided to take a gap semester from school and from football as a result of my study abroad plans in Rome falling through. So I was really just hanging out at home, seeing all these thousands of dollars of NIL deals fly by my face, seeing, D1 players getting deals with Aston Martin and all that stuff. And then just randomly in my Instagram DMs, here came this company called Lifestyle Bands, which I'm wearing them right now. So I'll give them a quick shout out. Cool. They came in and they asked me if I was interested in joining their NIL athlete group. And both my parents are lawyers. So, it's great to have good legal counsel in my corner. And we reviewed it. We said, what's the worst that can happen? And 13, 14 months later, after a lot of hard work and a lot of self-promoting, I am what you see in front of you today.
The King. Where's the crown, though? That's what I'm wondering.
Figurative crown.
Yeah, figurative. It's a headphone crown. Yeah, for sure.
Well, give us a little bit of background on you as an athlete, as a player. You can start from your freshman year in college.
Yeah. So really, I've played football my entire life. I mean, I'll go a little bit further back than freshman year in college. Even in high school, I was a 3-sport athlete my freshman year: football, basketball, and track. I like to say basketball was actually my first love, as you see the Kobe Bryant jersey behind me. But I, believe it or not, wasn't really tall enough, and I didn't have the intangibles when it came to basketball that I could really find success in it. And my sophomore year of high school, I decided I'm going to focus on football, see if I could go play at the next level. And from then on, it really just became focusing in on football, becoming the best football player I can be. I've got a trainer back home that played at the University of Texas and played with the New England Patriots as well. So he won his first Super Bowl with Tom Brady when he won his first. So really great relationship there. And, coming from Dallas all the way up to Western Massachusetts, it's a little bit of a scenery change, a little bit of a culture shock, but I was met, with open arms. We have a great football team culture up here, and it's certainly beautiful up here as well. I get to experience all 4 seasons for the first time in my life. But my athletic career up here, it's been interrupted by COVID, been interrupted by gap years, or gap semesters rather. And it's even sort of been sprinkled in with a little bit of NIL. So I've had a little bit of everything in my athletic career, and I've got my senior season coming up this fall. So I'm just hoping to, be the best wide receiver I can be.
That's awesome, man.
How do you like the? I mean, and I know you were telling us a story about your coaches. Give us a little bit of background on that, on how that's helped or not helped your success.
Yeah, the coaching situation at Amherst has certainly been interesting. Amherst is a fantastic school. A really great coaching staff for me coming in. Certainly, my freshman year helped me get acclimated to the whole college football scene. I had a great wide receiver coach for about 2 years. And then he unfortunately moved on to one of our rivals. And since then, in my football career, coming up to my senior season, I'll have 3 different wide receiver coaches, a couple different staff changes. And I think really the biggest thing that I've sort of learned is, nothing in life is really permanent. And every single day you've got to continue to prove yourself and sell yourself to these people that really control your playing time. So there's a lot of lessons, a lot of life lessons that you can certainly learn from every single aspect of football, but certainly with the rotation and the coaching staff changes, I think that's even more heavily reinforced that you've got to continue to prove yourself every single day, and nothing's going to be given to you.
Amen on that.
Yeah, I mean, things are always changing, right? We talk about in NIL, like the NIL market, things are always changing. Coaching situations, things are always changing. That doesn't change when you hit your professional career, right? And being ready to respond to those changes is really what life is about. What those lessons you can translate from sports. I know you said you had a couple injuries, some that leaves permanent scars, some that don't, right? You got a pinky that doesn't turn the right direction. That's just life of being a receiver. How have you responded to those injuries and those major changes and kept like yourself on your track to success?
Yeah, I think what's most important about the road bumps that everyone's going to experience in life is certainly from the athletic point of view. Even though I'd be held out of practice maybe 1 or 2 days, I'd still try and be the best teammate I can possibly be. Whether it be filling up water bottles on the sidelines, doing the little things like helping throw to some receivers who are just trying to get some extra work maybe before or after practice, and just continue to be an encouraging individual. If I come to practice and I'm all down and I'm in a bad mood, then that's going to begin, certainly as an older guy in the wide receiver room, that's going to begin to sort of rub off on the younger guys. And that's really not the type of team culture that we want to build. We want to build a team culture to, the condition is the condition, as my head coach says. So no matter what life throws at you, you've got to be able to respond. And as soon as, I got cleared, I was ready to hit the ground running, come back to practice, 110% effort every single time.
That's awesome, man. And I tell all my young football guys, it's 2 things that you gotta do. Number 1, take care of your body, and number 2, stay in that film room.
Absolutely,
you gotta be a student of the game. So I mean, in saying that, is that something that you put in your repertoire while you were rehabbing, watching a lot of film, understanding the game?
I certainly think while not being able to do the physical reps, the mental reps is probably the next most important thing. We have sort of wide receiver film. We'd have 7 a.m. film Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so that really helped me come together as a group. While I might not have been able to be out there on the field, just come there and understand, being able to talk with my coach, hear him talk through things and sort of help the younger guys, especially when they're on the field, see how they could have done that rep different, see how they could have run that route a little bit different versus this coverage, et cetera, et cetera. But certainly just independent film study is also going to be very important, because when I'm out there on that field, everything is going to be up here. I've got to read and react to what's basically put out in front of me. So a DB like you can play all different types of coverages. He can line up head up, just outside, just inside. So I've got to be able to understand what I'm going to be anticipating this coming Saturday, and just keep my head in the books just as I would academically. I've got to do it athletically as well.
That's right. Yeah.
You said a DB like you, a DB like you, a DB like you were, if you're talking to Ray, because right now the only coverage he's playing is not inside leverage, outside leverage. He's playing get back, like on the sideline, like get back.
I got a little bit back in me. I get you in the red zone, but that's all you get from me. Which I love what you said about mental, because you nailed a lot of things in the mental side of those things. But this has become a very big thing in sports lately, and it's something that should be addressed, like mental health. As you got hurt, you had to rehab. I mean, when I got hurt, I thought the world was over. Nowadays they have access to help you with those type of things when you do get hurt. So when you were going through that stuff, how did you take care of your mental health as well as you took care of everything else?
Here at Amherst, we've got a lot of great resources on campus. We've got a head coach that's very in the loop when it comes to understanding, that battle that nobody ever really sees except for yourself. So he's really cognizant of things like that. If I need to go talk to him, his door is always open, as well as all of the assistant coaches. But I think really the biggest thing at that time, athletes, we so closely associate our entire identity with our athletic ability. So really just having that taken away from me briefly, it was difficult. And I think leaning on my support system, whether that be, teammates who live right down the hall from me, maybe, going to grab dinner with a couple of them, just trying to keep myself in high spirits, or even calling my parents, after practice and just keeping them updated with the recovery process, how rehab is going. That's definitely something that I think I leaned on a lot. Because, being all the way back in Dallas, they can't just, drive on up here and take me out to dinner or something like that. So it's been really important to stay in communication with them. They're my rock, my mom, my father. They, got me to where I am today, and I certainly wouldn't be who I am today without the two of them. So just leaning on that support system and understanding that, my entire identity isn't based on whether I succeed or fail in football. This is just a part of life. And I understand how important it is to me, but at the end of the day, it is a game.
I love some of the things you're saying, Jack. First of all, let's give a shout out to Jack's parents. They've obviously done a great job raising the young man. But, on top of that, and as I'm a football coach myself, been around the sport for a long time and played it, for young men who are playing football, right, there is this unspoken rule, right, where you have to be tough. You can't show weakness, right? You can't show vulnerability. You can't show that you're down, right? And we got to get rid of that. As men, as coaches, as human beings, we have to understand that we have emotions, that we have weaknesses, and showing them and being vulnerable, leaning on those resources like you were talking about, going in and talking to your coach when something's wrong, even if it's not football related. It actually shows strength, not weakness, right? Being able to lean on your teammates, lean on those resources, lean on your coaches, lean on your family. So often athletes, when they get done with high school or they get to a certain age, they think, oh, mom and dad, I know better than mom and dad. Or, you might not have been able to help me get here, but I know what it's going to take to get to the next level. And then we come back around when we're 30 and we go, mom, dad, you were always right? Not some of the time, all the time. But this idea where we have to control it ourselves, or we have to be, always here and never down below, never a notch below, or we can't show it, is something we got to get out of sports. And I really love the fact that you talked about your identity being more than an athlete, because that's truly what we are, right? That's truly what we are. Awesome, man.
100% agree.
I love it.
Jack, tell me a little more about some of the stuff you got in your room. You got a bunch of, I know you from Dallas, Texas. You got the big Texan flag back there, but you got a couple more things back there that you got showing off. What do you got back there?
Yeah, so obviously I mentioned the Kobe jersey right behind me right there.
Yes, sir.
Also the Dallas Cowboys jersey. What else is really important to me? Right above my bed is the flag of the Cherokee Nation. And being that I am of Cherokee descent, that's one thing that I'm really proud about. I'm a Native American Studies double major along with English. And so just finding ways that I can study more, and I'm actually adopted. So fun fact about me. So I wasn't really raised in the tribal communities. I don't know a lot, the first thing about powwows and everything. But I have all these resources around me. I'm a member of the Native Indigenous Students Association here at Amherst. So really just using all the resources around me, all of the gifts that surround me, to begin to further understand more about my culture, more about my heritage. It's really something that I hold close to my heart, and that's why it's sitting right above my bed.
Wow, that's awesome.
I played high school football in Oklahoma, and so I know a lot of we went to the Texas Oklahoma games all the time.
Oh yeah.
And there's a ton of Native Americans all those areas from Oklahoma
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and Texas. So always had good football players, man. Always. When I saw that Texas, I was like, yeah, that's what to Texas, California, Florida, that's where that they just grow football players, man, all day long. What
They
was
do.
that? How, and thinking about like that Friday Night Lights, did you have that Friday Night Lights impact where you were at?
Yeah, my my high school was, we had 110 kids per grade, so it wasn't exactly like the show. That's actually one of the main questions I get, or I received when I came here my freshman year. All these people were like, "Oh my gosh, you played high school football in Texas. Was
Yeah.
it really? Like, is that canon? Like, is that exactly how Friday Night Lights are down in Texas?" And I'm like, "No, I had a pretty decently small stadium. It's not like everybody in Dallas comes out to see the Episcopal School of Dallas Eagles take on St. Mark's, but no, it is a great environment. All the families come out. The student section is always popping out there, so
Yeah.
it's a great environment, but not quite like the show. I'll tell you that.
And you got out of Texas. I mean, there is a ton of colleges in that area. What made you make that? Because I left Oklahoma and went off to Tennessee, and everybody always wondered why I did that. But why did you go away? Just curious.
Yeah, one of the main points really that went along in my recruiting process was most of the schools I was looking at are outside of Texas. When I was, looking at where I want to play college football, Northeast was definitely the place that spoke the most to me, just because the amount of elite schools that are up there. Going to experience 4 seasons, as I mentioned earlier, that's definitely something that was pretty high on my list, and really just a change of environment was sort of my biggest priority, because I lived in Texas my entire life. That's all that I knew. So really getting out of there and going to experience what the rest of the country has to offer, that's something that I highly prioritize and I put on the very front of my mind. And when it came to going to Massachusetts, I'd only been to Boston like once or twice prior to. But when I came up here, toured, visited, went to the Amherst Williams game my senior year, and we won like 44 to like 14 or something along those lines. And from then on, it's just, you've got the beautiful mountain scenery, you've got the incredible foliage going on. It's really hard to beat. I love home back in Texas, but this is just wonderful up here.
Now you just love to visit home in Texas.
Don't tell my parents that, though. They might get on.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, Mom, Dad, I hope you're not watching. Although I know you will be. He'll be home soon to visit, just to visit, not to stay. Cool, man. Hey, I know personally that there's some bigger things you're doing in the NIL space, right? And you've taken the lead as the king, right? But now you kind of are ruling, right? And putting out, the future for the next generation. What does that look like? And tell us more about what you've started in the NIL space.
Yeah. So to get around to that point, I'm going to have to take you back to, I'd say, around late March, early April of 2022.
Okay.
At this point, the portfolio is beginning to get a little bit deeper. I eclipsed 20, 25 NIL partnerships at this point. And I was beginning to get a lot of traction from, media outlets, hopping on podcasts, getting articles, that are really focused on me. And from then, I started getting, fellow Division III athletes, fellow small market athletes reaching out to me saying, do you have any industry secrets? Do you have any tips and tricks on how somebody like me, who's coming from a similar situation, whose school doesn't have these massive multi-million-dollar collectives to sort of be the broker in this process, how can you help me get started? And so I sat down and kind of said to myself, what if there was a more formalized approach to sort of NIL education at the smaller market level? And that's really where the Make Your Own Legacy Academy was born. And the mantra, Make Your Own Legacy, is something that I've written on my wrist tape. I'm sure writing on the wrist tape, it's something that's pretty sacred. On my left wrist, I'll write Mom, Dad, Logan, Grandma, Grandpa. On my right wrist, I'll write FJE, which stands for Justine Elder, my grandmother, and MYOL, obviously, for Make Your Own Legacy. So that's just sort of a mantra I operate by. I know a lot of people have made a lot of sacrifices for me in their lives, so it's only right that I give back and continue to build upon the Betts last name legacy. So from then, in the summer, we launched the Make Your Own Legacy Academy, the inaugural class of 21 athletes, obviously an ode to the number I wear on the field. It's on my back, but I wear number 21 on the field.
Ooh.
And really, we had athletes from all over the country. You know, I've got our list right here. We've got University of Central Oklahoma, Texas A&M, UT Tyler, University of Washington, Millsaps, Prairie View A&M, MIT, Stevenson, all over the country, coming from 6 different sports. And really what I educate them on is, you know, how to get into NIL, how to send that cold email, how to present yourself professionally, how to sustain conversation, negotiations, content creation. So it's been one heck of a ride being the founder of sort of a first of its kind education solution. And to date, we now have 33 athletes in the academy after welcoming a class of 12 in our winter cohort. So that's what I'm working on, and it's only expanding.
Man, that is so dope. Like it reminds me of Drew Rosenhaus back in the day. Him when he became an agent, he literally just took his roommates and teammates and guys that were in the dorm, and he started to represent them. And he ended up becoming a multi-billionaire mogul in the sports agency realm. So the fact that you're starting it right now and getting into the space today, 10 years from now, where your portfolio is going to be outrageous. It's incredible, man. And the fact and the amount of partnerships that you'll be able to get with this, man. That's awesome, brother. Congratulations, man. Seriously.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I think it's one thing when, you know, you get a reaction from brands and businesses who want to use you as the king, but it's a whole nother thing when you got your own peers, right, that are looking up to you and saying, hey, man, I respect what you did. How'd you get there? And can you help guide me too? It's just like what we do as players when we get that young receiver who comes in underneath us and we teach him our tips and tricks, but you're just taking it off the field and teaching them about how you did it in an NIL space, man. Like, hats off to you. Mad respect for that. That's quite an accomplishment. Where can people, you know, get in touch with you for the, you know, Make Your Own Legacy Academy, excuse me, not foundation, so the Make Your Own Legacy Academy? Where can people contact you for that? How can they sign up? How can they reach out to you? Where's all that stuff located?
Yeah, so on screen right now, you'll actually see my website right here, jack-bets.com.
Okay.
There's a Let's Talk section you can see right there on the top right. So if you hit that, it'll automatically send you to a correspondence that'll go straight to my email. But I know our generation isn't big on emails. I know I've got a lot of unread emails in my inbox that I'm looking at right here. So if you're not a fan of that, you know, you can reach me on Instagram at jbets21, at Twitter at jrbets21. And I can tell you the recruiting for the Make Your Own Legacy Academy summer 2023 cohort is likely going to be opening sometime around April, and we'll probably welcome that next class sometime in May. So I'd say get to it if you're interested.
That is awesome, man. I mean, I think this kind of correlates perfectly into the next segment because, you know, you're making your own legacy. We call it what's your why, right? We talk about, you know, what is the motivation, your purpose, your passion for doing what you're doing. For you, it's your legacy, right? What do you want your legacy to be? What is your why? Why do you do this? Why do you do everything you do on the field, off the field? And what makes Jack Betts Jack Betts?
Yeah, what's my why? Fantastic question. I think my why is really, you know, as aforementioned, my parents and my family. You know, I've got a little brother who I know looks up to me. Everything I do is just, you know, hoping to build a easier path for him than maybe I would have had. You know, I'm trying to get him into Amherst as we speak, maybe pull a couple strings, but also just understanding the sacrifices that my parents made, you know, adopting a child from halfway across the country. I was born in Seattle. They didn't know what they were getting. I certainly had no idea what I was going to get in my family. But I really wouldn't trade my situation for the world. You know, the resources that they had, you know, the type of knowledge that they've passed on to me, being, you know, working in the legal field for, golly, upwards of 30 something years. I don't know. But just, I don't know. I think the biggest thing is continuing to update my parents with everything that I've achieved, and understanding that everything that I'm doing and everything that I am achieving is coming as a direct result of everything that they've given me. So I'd say that's a pretty decent way to put it.
Man, that's great.
I
hope my son says that to me.
I can't think of a better why, but it makes me, you know, kind of wonder, and maybe this is a little touchy, so feel free to avoid the topic, but, you know, I have my best friend is adopted as well, and he actually has Native American descent as well. So, you know, there are these questions when you don't necessarily know a lot about your history. Did you ever go through those questions, or you ever wonder or feel insecure about the adoption process? What it sounds like your parents did a great job raising you. Obviously, you wouldn't take it back now, but was there ever a time in your life, whether that was when you were young or growing up, where you had those kind of identity questions?
Yeah, I think that is sort of gratuitous. Just kind of thinking like, what could my life have looked like? Maybe, when I butt heads with my parents, which I'm sure happens all the time with everybody. Maybe I'm thinking like, what if I wasn't here in this situation right now? But I think what's important to understand is I am where I am for a specific reason, and really thinking about what could be, what maybe should be. You're really just wasting your time. You ought to focus on what you have, and what material you have in front of you, as opposed to what ifs.
Yeah, definitely.
My last question for you, Jack. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Man, great question. My parents like to joke that they'd love to see me make it to the league, but I'm going to be honest, I can't remember the last time an Amherst college graduate even made it to the league. I think it was a Cowboys player in like the 70s or something crazy like that. But I don't know. I think where I want to be in 10 years is continue making differences, continue to build my legacy. Community service is something that is really high on my list of priorities, and something that I try and keep on the front of my mind almost every single day. So maybe starting up something like the Make Your Own Legacy Foundation, where we can I don't know, maybe go in and do work on Native American reservations. I know that's something that I really had as a goal in mind for a long time, even before I got to Amherst. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what industry I want to be working in. I know I really like sports. I know I really like marketing. So maybe fusing those two together, there's something there. But 10 years, I hope I'm just, making today's Jack still proud.
That's great. I had a gym, and we did a camp on Juneau. I think the Juneau was the Native American group, and I was shocked. I was so stunned because I couldn't. I was like, from not having water that they had to go get from wells, to the electricity in this girl. It was so eye opening, and they were so happy to be doing our program. And it just real, when you said that, the giving back, I was just like, wow, that is definitely something that is needed for sure. So
completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Jack, before we let you go, I know you kind of already touched on everything about your academy, right? Everything about your why. Is there a message that you would like to leave, maybe to your younger brother who looks up to you, or to those other athletes that are kind of following in your footsteps, in the NIL space, in athletics in general? But what's the Jack Betts motto, or what's the message you would love to leave to them as they come up and follow your path?
I guess the biggest piece of advice that I always give people when leaving them off with something is, I guess it's kind of a two-parter. You got to start beginning to disregard the opinions of others. I remember when I started in this NIL process, I could feel sort of the judgment coming, maybe from teammates, maybe from people I used to go to high school with. So I could kind of feel that judgment sort of weighing on me. And as I began to let that seep into my mind, I began losing focus on really where I was wanting to take this whole NIL process. And so just completely forgetting the opinions of others, and just remembering at the end of the day, the only opinion that matters is the man in the mirror right there. And of course, my mother. So I guess the second part of that one right there is, if you're, afraid to take the leap, if you're afraid to send out that one DM, send out that one email to the prospective company you want to work with, the worst that can happen is they say no. In my NIL process, I've been told no. I probably couldn't even count how many times I've been told no. And if I allowed that to, I guess, deter me from continuing to pursue these NIL projects and NIL partnerships, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you today. So just, being persistent, and understand that no isn't, going to be the end of the world. Those are really just the two key pieces of advice I give, especially in the NIL world, but also two good life lessons.
Dude, I don't know if you thought about this, Jack, but you should think about getting into broadcasting. Seriously.
Funny enough, my mother has mentioned it, so you two might be on the same wavelength.
Mama's always right, right?
I'm telling you, you should definitely think about that for sure.
I'll
Yeah,
write
I
it down
mean-
as a possible employment in the future. I don't know where I'm going to be in 10 years. Maybe I'm on CBS. Lord knows.
There you go.
That'd be awesome, man. Yeah. You're definitely going to be out there somewhere making an impact. I can already tell you that much. You're doing that now, from the, from your dorm room, right? From the field at Amherst, wherever the future takes you, I'm sure you'll be making an impact on the next generation for sure. So, yeah, it's been a pleasure to have you on today, man.
I appreciate that. Thank you all for having me on. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, of course. Man. And don't forget, anyone who's listening, follow Jack. What is it? Jack JBets21?
JBets21 on Instagram. That's me.
On Instagram, right? And what was the website? One more time.
Jack-bets.com.
Jack-bets.com. Make sure you give Jack a follow. He's doing big things in the NIL space. So thanks again, Jack. Thanks for being here, man.
Of course,
Jack, hit me up. Hit me up, Jack.
I got you. I'm going to do that as soon as we hop off here.
Man,
all right, brother.
Awesome, buddy.
Have a good one, man.
Take care.
Dude, that guy, man, like, I'm just thinking just the entrepreneur, like the mindset of thinking about that, right? Like, that's what's so cool about the NIL. I keep saying this to people. It's opening up the minds of young athletes to think bigger and broader, which we just was never thinking like that. We were so tunnel vision and all the time. Now you have the opportunity to start thinking about your future and laying that path out there. And he says something that I love. Because myself and some of our other people that work in the company have been actors before, and people say it all the time. I've seen you on this commercial. I saw you on this. You don't know how many times you get told no. I mean, the amount of times you get told no, it could really physically hurt you. So the fact that he understands. Every 10 no's, I'm going to get a yes. That's just the mindset you have to have. And the fact that he already has that right now is amazing. It's awesome.
And if you take that equation, that every 10 no's, you're going to get a yes, and he's got 40 deals, that's 400 no's, right? That's a lot of no's, man. And one thing I think I really appreciated too was that when he got those opportunities, he went back to his counsel, which was his parents, obviously some of the best counseling you get because they're both lawyers, right? So that's nice to have. But for those people who don't have those resources, there are places like ATHLYT who will do that for you. And that's one of the things I wanted to make sure that all of the people who are reaching out to Jack, those small market athletes, big market athletes, medium market athletes, you might know a lot about NIL, you might not know anything about NIL. That's what we're here for, right? Yeah. We talked about it earlier, the culture, the opportunity, the information and education, and then the network. That's what ATHLYT stands for. We're built around getting deals and information and all that stuff to the athletes directly in case you don't have lawyers to call at home, right? In case you don't have those resources, you aren't sure about compliance, you aren't sure about how to connect with these brands and businesses. Join the ATHLYT team. And we will help guide you through that process. Join Jack's team, join our team. We are not going to restrict your opportunities. We are going to expand them. And at athlyt.co, you can log into our website. You can, be directed over to create your own profile. It's free for you, the athlete. And then you have access to connect with these brands and businesses who want to use you for advertising and collect some NIL compensation along the way. So it's a no-brainer. Athlyt.co. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, all of the social medias at ATHLYT. That's spelt with a Y, ATHLYT.co. So make sure and join the platform today if you're not already a part. Speaking of joining the platform, Hannah has some athletes who have recently joined the platform. Hannah, you want to break those down for us?
I do. Most of these athletes
Awesome.
that I will be talking about today actually just signed and committed to the colleges that they're attending. So I don't have a lot of stats on them. Nice. But they are fresh on our platform.
They are fresh.
Yeah.
Fresh meat.
All right. First up, we have Tyler Harris. He is a defensive back at Sul Ross State University. He signed this February, and so we're looking forward to see what he is going to do next season at his school.
Congrats, Tyler. Yeah. Congrats, man. Hey, making that trip up to college is no joke, man. It's going to be a grind, but let's see what kind of baller he is. Oof.
See, I was about to say he was a corner. He looked like one of those, cover two corners, come up and put a stick on him.
He be smacking fools. I love a DB who's not afraid to get into the mix, right? Like,
yeah.
Like so many DBs focus on coverage. They focus about locking people down. Not a lot of DBs have a bunch of hit sticks in their highlights.
Nope, it ain't like that no more. A lot of DBs don't want to come up and be physical, but so I like a good physical corner.
Heck yeah, man!
And especially when they're smaller, because I mean you could tell he's a little bit shorter, but you know he's got that man-to-man skills. But the fact that he can come up and support, you gotta have that type of corner.
He got that dog in him, that's for sure.
Next up, we have Jashri Bell. She is a 6-foot sophomore at Southern University of New Orleans.
Suno.
They don't have the best athletics page, so I couldn't find a lot of information on her. But looking forward to see what she can do this year, following her into her junior year.
And that's Suno, right?
Yeah.
Suno?
Yeah, Suno. Yep.
Yeah.
The Knights.
Yeah.
Gotta love the Huddle soundtrack.
and this is a shout out to all athletes right here.
Splash.
You're out there putting your highlights together, because this is how colleges get to know you. This is the way you can get exposure. Share your highlights on the ATHLYT platform. I mean, I can watch highlights all day long.
Heck yeah. Love that.
Okay, and then Gianna McMiniman. She's a point guard at University of New Mexico. She just signed this last November. So looking forward to see what she can do with her first season with the Lobos. Some of the film that I watched, she's going to be a big point guard for this team.
That's what's up.
Okay, I just got to ask, with her last name, she better be good at man-to-man defense. Her last name is man-to-man.
Man-to-man, okay.
It's man-to-man. Ooh, crisscross.
Got him.
Got her. Ooh, good pass.
Nice pass. Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay.
That's the one thing I have to say about March Madness, because it can only happen in basketball, where you can get these no-seeders or these small school schools to play like the number one school and win. You can't do it. Just will never happen in football. I would be very shocked that Alabama, Georgia, is playing a smaller school that'll ever happen.
Did you fill out a bracket?
Gianna, man-to-man.
I didn't.
How did that look?
I don't know what I just don't get the bracket deal. I sway away from the bracket stuff. So. And fantasy football too.
They're just fun to do. Last athlete I have is Dante Brown. He is a quarterback at Elizabeth City State. And same thing, I don't have a lot of stats on him, but I think we have a highlight roll.
Dante's a good dude. I've talked to Dante. He's a cool man. Let's see him sling the rock. Oof. That's a dot. That's a dot.
Ooh. I see the double coverage over there. Still got it in
That's
there.
a dot. That receiver acting like he did something. That was all the quarterback, man. Okay, he can move a little.
See, make the easy throw.
Dump it out into the flat.
Yeah, make the easy throw. Some guys can't make the easy throw. They try to do too much.
Yeah. Exactly. Take what the defense gives you.
He looked a little thick, though, Corey. I thought he was an option guy. So that's what I was looking for. I was like, we're going to see some option work.
I think probably he is. I'm not going to lie to you, but the way they had two running backs in the backfield and a big boy at quarterback, he keeps it if he taking it through up the tackle, right?
You know this.
Yes, sir.
As soon as I see him, I was like, oh, he running that thing. For sure.
And you know what? It looks like when you're in high school, right? They have a tendency to put the best athlete at quarterback. So it looks like that might have been what happened there. But it's awesome that he's getting a chance to take it to the next level at Elizabeth City State University. And we'll see what he can do there, man. We'll definitely see what he can do there.
Congratulations and good luck, brother.
Yes, sir. Awesome, Hannah. Thank you for those introductions to those athletes. We're sure to watch them as they succeed in the future. And that's just another reason why, all athletes should be on the ATHLYT platform. We want to give you, the shout out that you deserve, no matter what level you play at, right? Like whether you're at a Division III like Jack, whether you're at a Division I that gets a lot of, exposure. ATHLYT is a place where you can get more, right? There's always a chance to get more exposure, to put your name out there, to get on the podcast, to be our guest, talk about what you're doing off the field, talk about your goals and what that legacy you want to leave in the future is. Build your network, right? There's nothing better than coming on here talking with Ray, who's got an extensive network in the professional sport, especially sports and the acting, modeling, all these things, man. You'll never know where your next connection is going to come from. And we love to be the ones that help facilitate that process. So
I mean, I love it because I was just looking at our LinkedIn, and I know kids are going, what is LinkedIn? Well, it's a website that but seriously, I get hit up by coaches. I get up by NFL scouts, baseball scouts, managers, agents, all over the place. We are creating this sports network. So Jack I'm going to connect with Jack. I talk to Dior and her family. I text, I look at their videos. Like, we are creating this network and connection that we will, as when you're a part of ATHLYT, it's just going to get bigger and better.
Yeah, man. Yep. Jack's a part of our network, right? Hopefully all those athletes that are in his academy, right, are joining our network as well, because like you said, it's only going to get bigger and better from here. We're excited about all those new athletes who have recently joined. We can't wait to, support you in your journey along the competitive landscape and then whatever it looks like in your professional careers in the future. So anything else you want to tell these fans? Obviously, they need to subscribe, right? They need a like, they need to subscribe. They need to be back here every week so that they're notified about this content and everything else we're putting out on the ATHLYT platform. But if there's anything else you guys would like to leave to those followers and watchers, our audience, please feel free to do that now.
I'll just say, man, continue to watch. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to keep having awesome guests. If you notice, they're just getting better and better and better. I keep trying to figure out which is my favorite. It's probably not going to matter because we're going to continually get stronger and stronger. The more stuff that you guys show us and create, we would love to share it. We love to promote you guys. That's what we're here.
If you guys want to be featured on the podcast or be a spotlight athlete on our Instagram page, go ahead and reach out to me on my Instagram and we can figure that out.
For Ray, Hannah, myself, it's been awesome to have you here. We'll see you next week. Thanks again.